a trip to Insanity Island.
You are
recording. We're back.
Oh, we're back.
We're back.
We are
Here we
back.
are, baby.
We got a full panel here for our Insanity Island. And here we are.
We have a special guest today, Hunter Biden.
I was just with him. I was just with him.
I appreciate that.
It was a good
I
time.
was just with Hunter Biden.
It was a good
Okay.
time. We came back, we assessed inventory, and we were a little light, but but other than that, it was great.
Hey, did you visit your daughter?
Okay, it is July
The
9th,
who? What? Where?
2023, the year of our Lord, and we have got top story: cocaine in the White House.
Gee, I wonder who brought that in.
Gee, makes you wonder.
Do you know how I know for a fact that it's his? It's Hunter's. Do you know how you can prove it?
Now,
That is
Todd,
the
Todd, you've been hanging out with Hunter Biden a little bit, huh?
He has been. The reason you know for a fact that it's Hunter's is that is the most photographed place on the planet Earth is the White House. It doesn't matter where you're at, you're being photographed. From the front, the back, the top, it is the most secure place on Earth. Period. If you move, they know. They probably have ghost equipment in case there's ghosts running around. You can't tell me that they don't know. It's been days. You tell me, really? They don't know?
Well, just for the viewers, I know most of them know it, but I am surprised that I broached it in front of parties and things, and there was a couple people, even on the conservative side, that were kind of like, what? That needed clarification. Not only should Tim set the stage as what happened, but is there any detail as to the actual finding? Like, was it the little bag that was in the memes? Could you set the stage on what they know thus far so that we can play off
That's
that?
actually a good question. Well, it was originally reported as a white substance. This was early in the week, was discovered in the White House, and then it came out later in the week that it was indeed cocaine. Now, Richard, you may know a little bit more about, have they definitely confirmed that it was cocaine, and where in the White House did they find it?
So I'm trying to see if I can pull a image up of the White House right now. And
They're confirmed it's coke. They know that.
yeah,
They do.
So
It is confirmed. It's
here's what
cocaine.
No, they did that the first day. They knew that.
on Friday during the day, there was a call made to, I guess, the Secret Service or somebody, but the fire department ends up out there for some reason. I think they were concerned, could this be ricin or some type of a poison chemical, left by someone, and it was in a baggie. I mean, it was in a regular sort of sandwich baggie, and I don't know the pictures I saw. I don't actually think it was the actual baggie, but it wasn't like it wasn't like a little bit. It was a decent size, maybe not quite.
So it was a fair amount of cocaine. Like whoever
Yeah.
had it in its possession, caught with it, would go to prison.
Correct. Yeah, for sure. I mean, unless you're Hunter Biden, of course, but nonetheless. So they called the fire department and other people, and they come out and they do a test on it. And the reason it got out wasn't because the White House released a press release on it. It was because someone picked up on the fire department chattercoms radio saying, we have this at the White House and it's tested positive for cocaine. And so that's how the story got out. So, of course, people start asking about it. And immediately the White House comes out and says, well, it was found in a public area, like as if when you're touring the White House. And I don't know if the three of you have ever toured it, but I have. And I toured it post 9/11. And it's not easy to get in there these days. And you have to definitely get searched, and you have to get background checks done on you. You can't just walk into the White House like a tour.
Oh, and Richard, don't they have a one or two cameras?
It's literally probably is the most photographed area. There's no way that there's not a square inch of that house that doesn't have a camera pointing at it.
They know whose it is.
Unless you're maybe in the residency area.
There's no way they don't know.
So they go up. So what happens is then so the White House says public area. Well, it wasn't a public area. They had to come out later and clarify and say, well, it actually was found in this area that's a library, and that turned out not even to be the case. It was found in some cubby area that was behind. Like, it's an area where only the top staff and the family get to go into. And by top staff, I mean like the top staff. I don't mean like a secretary or the operators or the security people.
The attorney general, people like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like cabinet level.
I heard it was found in the Situation Room.
It was found apparently next to the Situation Room, and there's still speculation on was it in a cubby area outside there that was found. And then the White House comes out and says, well, because questions immediately, people are like, Hunter Biden, where was Hunter? And it turned out he was with Chris, but he was, and Chris was partying with Hunter like he normally does. Todd was evidently with Hunter this weekend also.
I'm the one that got him to Coke. What are you talking about?
So this is like the point where I'm like, okay, something's up fishy here, because Jean-Claude Pierre, or whatever her name is, the press secretary, said, well, the Biden family wasn't even in the White House on Friday. How irresponsible of y'all to
And they were.
And it turned out they were, because there were photographs of Hunter Biden at the White House on Friday, leaving with the family on Friday night or Friday late afternoon, going on vacation for the weekend. And so that was a lie. And so there's been multiple lies put out by the White House to try to muddy the waters about.
But just think about it. Just think about it. You're telling me the same moron that does as many drugs as this guy does the kind of things he does, and forgets to pick up 3 different computers with evidence of espionage with his father on it, videos of him having sex with probably underage women as prostitutes and doing drugs. His children are going to hate him when they get older and see this. They're going to go, good God, that's my dad. Blah. You're telling me he's not the guy that left the Coke there?
100%. I mean, yeah.
Give me a break.
One of our topics a while back was, are there 2 standards of law? And the answer is yes. And here's an example. Anytime anyone's brought like a nightmarish girl or like even a friend that ends up showing themselves at a dinner, whatever, if you think that's the first time that has happened, the point is that person is a colossal ass, whether it's woman, right? And you've just put them in a situation and they show themselves. This guy has gotten away with this kind of shit since he was probably 12, DUIing and doing this stuff. So why wouldn't he think he could leave his laptop? Why wouldn't he think he has pulled this off and not faced anything for so long? He doesn't even have that oh shit moment most of us do. When you read,
He's like Prince Harry.
yeah. So
He's the second child.
Completely
He can do whatever he
spoiled.
wants.
And
again, the sad part is the double standard of law has probably been going on a lot longer than we even know. It's just now being surfaced post-Trump.
well, it's the quintessential white privilege. I mean, when they talk about white privilege, and in other words, white privilege is getting away with things that most people cannot. Right?
This is not white privilege. A
It's-
Republican would not get away with it.
Well, I'm talking about the white
This is
privilege
Democrat,
as
no,
a lot of
It's
people
everything's
define
turned
it.
around now.
I
It's all,
think what Tim
it's
is
all
saying is
part of
they
privilege
use
now.
white privilege and they're a part of white privilege. So why are they using it?
Exa-
yeah, exactly.
exactly.
Hillary got away with it. I mean, come
And
on.
if we were to say again that if using our standard, if Donald Trump Jr. dropped a bag of Coke near the White House Situation Room,
He'd be in jail now.
yeah, I mean, you don't think there'd be an outcry? And
The
they,
video would be out.
Total outcry.
The video would be out.
and let me show you although the press is asking about it, but the Biden White House has laughs it off, like literally laughs it off. Like someone asked Biden, what about the cocaine found in the White House? He goes, yeah, and just kept walking. That's like his answer to everything is this giggle. And then, like,
It
but,
falls off stage like Miley Cyrus. Or
but
whatever.
let me throw you guys back like another 40 years ago when Ronald Reagan was in the White House. Remember the press uproar when it turned out that Nancy Reagan was bringing in someone to do some counseling? Do you remember who it was?
Sinatra?
No, that's another rumor. It was a she brought in an astrologer to
Oh yeah. I
do fortune telling.
remember that.
In the press for months, if not years. I mean, the fact that we remember it 40 years later is,
Yeah, they went on and on and on about.
and so in this case, you've got probably, Hunter Biden, who has all kinds of messes going on. I mean, he's a gift to the Republican Party, frankly, but Hunter Biden probably leaves Coke, and they say they can't find a video, the same way that the video machines outside of Epstein's prison cell weren't working coincidentally when he got killed.
Oh no, they were working. They were just turned.
Yeah. So I mean, so Chris, to your point earlier, like there's video evidence 100%.
Oh yeah, they know whose it is.
Yeah.
They knew the day that it happened. They knew when they picked it up.
Guys,
Son of a bitch kid did it again.
do you remember that famous video? Joe Negro is being accused of scuffing the ball. They go visit him at the mound, and he goes to the back pocket and does that move, and you see it literally flip out, and the umpire goes like this, and it was an Emery board.
And he
There's an Emery board Joe Negro video. It's just being buried. It's
I
absolutely.
remember that.
Yeah, it's
And-
the double standard is just on full display. So was this amount of cocaine enough to put you in jail, Richard, that they found?
Well, I think any cocaine technically is enough to put you in jail.
I
Yeah, I
guess
think
you're right.
it's possession. So
But-
period.
But it's only if they say you did it and they charge you with it, right? So if they, on the other hand, look the other way, which is what they're doing, it was either like, given where the insurance was, it was an insurance used again only by super top level people. So it's either a member of their national security team, it's a cabinet level official, or it's one of their immediate staffers, like a handler, like a driver or someone, or it's someone in the family. Like that's the only people that ever use that insurance. And so there's a reason why the White House is trying to cover it up and just say, oh, there's no here. Just everybody move along. Let's talk about something.
Officer Blair Brady.
Yeah, let's talk about
Nothing to see here.
Chinese
Move along.
guys. Anyway,
Well, it just speaks to the dilution of a value system, right? I mean, cocaine in the White House. I mean, really? I mean
Look
that's
at
not
how
good-
horrible
that's
this
good luck.
family. Look at how horrible this family is. Drugs, prostitution, espionage, bribery with China. God knows what China's getting. They could have already sold us down the river.
and that's the stuff we know about.
Technology, ignoring a granddaughter just because it's inconvenient,
Now that's the one.
like it's a piece of debris or something.
That's the one I think
This
is the
family
most
is evil.
disturbing. That's the most disturbing.
I-
It's just-
These are bad people.
Throw out. I know we want to come back on the granddaughter thing in a second because I think that certainly warrants it. But
well, we can go into it.
another thing that Joe Biden routinely does is falsely claims that his son died in Iraq.
In Iraq, yeah,
Yeah, and
and he didn't.
like
And he knows that.
died. He died like years later from cancer in the U.S. And he
Yeah.
goes around giving speeches all the time about how my son died in Iraq.
Oh, hey, this is this is how evil the guy is. Remember the 13 that died in Afghanistan?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, the ones that got blown up. You know how they meet the families when they're bringing the bodies in, and the president's there to greet them to come in, and blah blah blah. That, and when he did speak to them, all he did was talk about how his son died. This is different, you asshat. For one thing, I don't care if your son died, and I wouldn't even care if he did die in combat. You're supposed to be consoling us right now. But he didn't die in combat. He died of cancer. So quit trying to pretend like he did, and quit equating it to the fact that you got my son blown up. You evil bastard. God, I wish somebody would have said that to him.
Well, his approval ratings have slipped, but it's still at like what 38%. I want to know what's going through the minds of that
I know.
38%.
What are you getting out of this presidency? He hates you. If you're poor, you don't.
Yeah, he's checking his watch as if he's got somewhere better to go to.
Yeah.
Hey.
That son of a bitch.
I saw something. What we're dealing with in the 38% to specifically address that, Tim. I saw something, one of those shorts that gets fed to you on your phone, of course, and it said, but it was an interesting one. It said, if we want to talk about debate on any topic, you can have debate, whether it's civilized or not, you can debate a topic. When politics becomes who you are, you cannot debate that anymore. And 38% of the people are telling them it doesn't matter if they did produce the video of the cocaine, if they did kill people and sell American souls to the Ukrainian war, whatever the issue, 38% at minimum are telling you it's who they are. It doesn't matter what happens. And I hate to say it, there's some on the right that are the same way.
Well, yeah, I
Hey.
mean, look at Trump. I mean, a lot of people, at that 38% would argue, well, how can you support a man like Trump? He's such a narcissist. He's such a loudmouth. He says things that are insulting. He mentions grab them by the, private parts, things like that, which aren't good looks either. But Donald Trump has never treated a member of his family, a granddaughter, like a piece of trash. Like, you can't even use the Trump last name. I mean, nowhere even close to that. You would certainly not find cocaine in a Trump White House. I mean, I just can't imagine that. And whenever he would visit with victims of combat and war, he always was very, very, very respectful. So yeah, Trump receives his own fair share of criticism.
Hey,
but nothing like this.
I don't want to swerve off topic too much, but it has to do with what Todd was saying as far as the way people are. Have you guys heard of that new movie that came out, the anti-child slavery movie?
Yes.
The Freedom movie? It beat Indiana Jones on 4th of July on that day. I mean, I couldn't believe it did. That's awesome. The topic of this movie is it's a true story about this guy that invented he created an organization that rescues children that are caught up in the slave trade.
It's called The Sound of Freedom.
Sound of Freedom. True story. Came out. It's becoming successful. It's from a Christian group and all that, which was funny because Disney owned it, but they didn't want to put it out. And somehow these guys got the rights to put it out, and it's beaten Disney's movie.
Wow. I'd like to see that. The Sound of Freedom.
Listen. My point is this. You'd think we could all agree that that's not good, right? Child slavery? That maybe we should fight that, Yeah, not the left. No, these people, they don't have a bar that they can't go lower than. They've been attacking this movie, calling it QAnon adjacent, because they claim the movie is a paranoid movie of made up stuff. And I'm like, why would you defend these people? What is wrong with you? What could you? We can't agree on this. Then there's no agreeing with you. You people are evil, and you need to be stopped.
That's where I come out on the crime thing, Chris. Like, I don't understand with the potential backlash of why they're so obsessed with repurposing criminals that have created violent offenses into society, because it's easy to trace that. And if there's backlash, if that guy kills someone in a drunk driving or re-murders somebody or whatever, to your point, I think they just literally tag something as right, and they go the other way no matter what.
So those are the stockings, Richard, of all the Biden grandchildren, except the one they refused to acknowledge. Is that what that was?
They carefully hung with care, the stockings in hopes St. Nicholas would soon be there. All 6 of them representing their 6 grandchildren, except there's a problem because there's a 7th grandchild. So they
not
even
according to his staff.
They even had a stocking hung for a expected child.
They had one for the dog.
It's pathetic. I mean, it's
I think that troubles more people than anything. About how you could just treat a little girl like that.
I think if you
little girl is going to grow up to hate these people, and his own children that he's raising, when they get older and they see those videos, which they will, of their dad having sex with a prostitute and doing drugs and being an idiot, and they learn about the bribery and all that, they're going to know about it. They're not going to care for him either. It's like the OJ kids. Yeah, that works when they're kids, but eventually they grow up.
He almost died this
to the
week, by the
internet
way.
too.
OJ almost bought it. He had to have an emergency stent put in his heart.
When?
This past week.
O.J. Simpson?
Yeah, he almost died. He and Madonna. That would have been a good week.
Twofer? A twofer?
Yeah, Mr. O.J. Simpson. That was quite a saga.
That was funny. Yeah, darn OJ.
No boy, Mr. O.J. Simpson. What a character!
If you went and found Corn Pop, wherever Corn Pop is these days, he is probably a better parental figure than Hunter Biden is. I'll bet money on it.
Did you see the pictures of them up on the balcony?
Yes.
At the White House.
About how
Did you not just want them to just go away. And I mean, I don't want to wish ill on people, but I'm sitting there looking at these people and I'm thinking, how dare you? How dare you people do this? I mean, just get off the stage.
What did they do on the balcony, Tendo?
Just pretending like they give a crap about the United States
Oh, you
and
know,
that they're good people, and look at us, and we're using babies as human shields and stuff like that.
Well, you know, this is kind of a and going to be a very interesting election. Is this election, this 2024 election that's approaching, in terms of the direction of our country and where it's heading, how do you rank its significance? And we'll start with you, Richard. How do you rank the significance of this upcoming election?
I think, I don't know. I mean, I think it all depends on what happens 4 years in the future. So I think the importance of presidencies are oftentimes judged in retrospect, given what plays out, right? So if war breaks out in Europe even more, or China invades Taiwan, then it's super important. On the other hand, so who knows? It's hard to say. I mean, otherwise, every election, next election is always the most important, right? I mean, so it's
but do you think if Joe Biden is reelected, that we're inching more closer to a full-blown socialism type government?
Inching closer, sure. I mean, do I think Joe Biden is really a socialist? No. I think it's about Joe Biden and about power. I think it's a deep state. I don't know that the deep state I would call socialist, but he's definitely a deep stater. I mean, I'll put it that way.
So you do believe there is a deep state?
Yeah, for sure. I think that there is a populist part of the population that's represented by the Donald Trump people. I think that there is generally speaking, a more religious, conservative element of the population that is represented by people probably like me. Then there is a socialist group, which are people like AOC. They're deep state people, that are definitely been in control for a long time. And they're just it's the old proverbial wealth versus masses kind of thing.
Does deep state run on both sides, Republican and Democrat?
Yeah, I think it absolutely does. Yeah.
Okay. Has anyone seen that new series called The White House Plumbers? About Watergate?
Woody Harrelson's in it, right?
Yeah. Have you seen it?
I have not. Is it good?
It's really good. The Republicans were very guilty of being deep state in the early 70s.
Yeah, there's no question that, that's one reason why I'm so opposed to families continuing to serve. Like I wouldn't support any of Trump's kids running. I didn't want to see Jeb Bush get elected again or get elected to a national level. I don't want to see Michelle Obama running. Like, I don't think we have royal families. And that to me is.
Tim, are you telling me that Woody Harrelson did a movie where he was making Republicans look bad?
Well, I mean,
oh my God.
It goes into a very deep docudrama.
I'm sure it does. I'll never watch it.
Well, it's pretty well done, though. You might be surprised. It doesn't.
I'm really out on that. I'm done with that. I've dealt with 50 years of being told I'm evil. I'm done with it. I'm done with it.
But it's just interesting how G. Gordon Liddy just kind of ran rogue.
I love G. Gordon Liddy. Stacked and packed.
Yeah, he ran rogue on that deal. And he would hold his hand over a candle to
I'm sorry, but after all the corruption,
his willpower.
After all the corruption I've seen over the last 10 years of the Democratic Party, I don't care about Watergate or any of the crap in the past. I damn sure don't hold a candle to anything the Republicans did. I don't know, having a freaking coup against a sitting president and nothing happens to them. So no, I don't care about Woody Harrelson's little Republicans sure were bad once. Fuck you, dude.
Okay. So Todd, what does it say about our level of patriotism when on July 4th you have a multi-million-dollar entertainer by the name of Jill Scott singing the national anthem, Home of the Slaves?
Blood in the streets.
It's it is part of a movement that is issueless. There is no platform other than we have to start over as a country. And so anything they can do to bash the current country and its history is about all they know. They don't even think through to what they're asking for in terms of what issues they want to ultimately achieve. And all they can comprehend is that, you know, and so that statement, she thinks she is a part of some movement that we suck and we'll be better off if we just eliminate the past and basically start over.
But is it just a grand setup? All these cries of racism and you know, remember their slavery. Is all of this just a setup for reparations, Todd?
Maybe because the deep state believes that will control voting going forward. But at the level of this person, this is the part that is so sad. She herself undoubtedly has never been a part of it. Of that negativity that she thinks has happened, right? Like she's never personally experienced it, but yet why is she wanting to latch on to that? That's the bigger issue. Is like, how are they sucking these people in to people who've never even experienced it?
And the country she hates so much has made her a multimillionaire.
There you go. So it's like they haven't even thought it through.
Yeah, but
Right.
guys, you don't understand. She wears her hair in an afro.
Well, well, there you go. I mean,
That's
you know,
important, right?
she could wear her hair.
It's real big, real big,
Richard,
real big.
Richard, do you think that, okay, there must be an objective to bringing up all this, slavery metaphors, cries of racism, when there's been more legislation passed in 20 years to protect minorities, to help minorities be brought up. What is their objective today in 2023? What are they trying to accomplish? Is Dr. Todd right? They're just making noise for the sake of making noise? Or is there some sort of objective here?
Yeah, it's to my view on this is to divide Americans. We used to be the melting pot, you know, and the idea would be that when your culture comes here, everyone has a fair shot. And we weren't all that, 150 years ago. We weren't all that 50 years ago. I mean, there definitely were institutional sort of barriers that were put up to suppress Black people and other people, including Italian Americans or Native Americans or Irish Americans. I mean, there's been the history of humanity is one, not just in the US, but where one group typically, as a rule, tries to usurp itself over another group. And then there's people that object to that. But to continue to harp on it as leaders of the country and seek to divide us and create barriers where we think of ourselves as Black and white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever. I think that's problematic because it causes us to be more isolated as groups, to be focused on each other and not on corruption or making the world a better place. That's why, Jesus said, love, one another and not point out the differences and say you're better than that person.
To put it, yeah, there you go. And to put it in perspective here, slavery has been outlawed for 170 years at least. Okay, so
That's not what this is about.
Well, exactly. I'm gonna illustrate the point this way. Nazi Germany was way more oppressive than what they did to, say, the French, the Polish, the Russians. Right? I mean, they did some really bad stuff.
They were very rude.
And that was 70 years ago. They're not still singing in those countries' national anthems about the evil of the Nazis. I mean, this just, they're just moving on. They're just moving on.
Dude,
Why can't the Democrats just seem to move on?
it's a weapon. They're just using it to, like Richard said, to divide us. But the end goal is Marxism. They want to break everything down, break the family down,
That's
make
right.
everybody. I mean, the CRT thing is nothing more than, hey, I want this kid to hate this kid, and I want that kid to hate this kid.
That's
That's
right.
how we're going to raise them. That's what they're doing.
That's
It's all
right.
about destruction.
That's right. And do you think
They don't really care about the slavery thing anymore. They're not dumb. They know what's going on. That's why normal black people.
it's a
don't.
Marxist weapon? It's a Marxist weapon. But do you think the average Democrat voter even understands that?
No way.
No, they're useful idiots.
And they purposely don't try to make them understand it, because I would almost respect it if it was a Marxist movement that tied to relatable goals of what they think the country could be if they were right. They don't, on purpose, because the goal is to simply have the power stay in power and then distract the masses to simply anchor them to that movement with no detail.
And you know why they want Marxism?
Detail.
They don't even believe in Marxism. They just want the damn Constitution out of their way. They can do that with a Marxist state.
Why do they want to do that? Why does half of our country want that, do you think?
Because a lot of people are bad and they want to rule over other people. That's just the way it is.
Because they
Always
think
been like
all
that.
the bad is attributable to the setup. The way it was set up, the Constitution, has led ultimately in their mind, it's finally manifested itself out of control to the problems that we see. So they're like, let's eliminate that original document that's not awesome and start over. Now the question is, okay, tell us what's going to happen in this start over. There is no detail. It's just that it'll be better. Like some macro thing like global warming. Like, how are you going to actually achieve that? Everyone knows when you start to break down the details, it unravels in 2 seconds, especially when you bring in China or India. So they always keep the detail off. They just anchor it to a complaint. That's what they rally them around. Things
Like-
suck, right? Yeah, they suck.
Corporations.
Yeah.
But it isn't just a racial thing. Although race is one of the
It's
mechanisms
one of them.
people get divided. It's religion. And another example came up this week where Ben and Jerry's ice cream founders,
That was funny as hell.
they came
that was
out,
funny
they
as
came
hell.
out, they called for the U.S. government to return indigenous land, including, and I'm actually quoting here, including starting with Mount Rushmore. And they went on to say that the faces on Mount Rushmore are the faces of men who actually work to destroy indigenous cultures and the way of life. And so they have called for the United States to return stolen indigenous land this 4th of July.
We didn't steal shit. We conquered it.
Let,
And I'm
let's,
fucking proud of it.
let's, and they literally say, let's commit to returning it.
Nope.
Except, oops, they forgot to check and they didn't realize that the actual land that the Ben and Jerry's headquarters sits on traditionally belonged to the Abenaki land, Indian Native American community. So
And their leader, Don Stevens,
yeah.
blew me away.
Well,
Like
if
literally, Ben and Jerry's could start there, but they don't want to start there because that doesn't serve their purpose. That just seeks to, they're trying to pick land and
You know
sell.
what? And I'm getting sick and tired of the left controlling the narrative that we stole this land. We didn't steal anything. We conquered it. Every single country on the face of the earth has been owned by other lands. Every country was created by conquering the other country. Thank God it was us that did it. Oh, there's Donnie right there.
So this is Don Stevens, the
He looks
head.
like a hippie.
He does look like a hippie. He probably eats a lot of Ben and Jerry's too. So
Wow.
so he was the first one, and good for him. He came out and pointed out that they were hypocrites because his headquarters sits on stolen land, and they should walk out. And of course they didn't. They were like, "Oops." And-
pointed out the hypocrisy. That's so awesome. That
Yeah.
is so,
Oh, it was awesome.
hypocrisy. Well, if there are the 4 pillars of, I can't think of any other word for it other than frustration, that what people on the right are frustrated about regarding people on the left. Okay. It used to be tax increases, more government regulations, larger debt on the government. That used to be lead to the kind of why you don't want a Democrat in control. Today, the frustration is, number one, at the very, very top.
Defunding the police.
Well, that's certain. Yes.
Well, that's the breakdown of society right there.
Defunding police. That is a big one. I'm going to add that actually to my 4 to make it 5. Okay. Number 1, false accusations of racism. No one wants to be accused of being a racist, right? You don't want that on you. But yet they just go with a broad brush and say, every Republican.
Yeah, look at Joy Reid.
Yeah, we're all a bunch of racists. That's number 1. Number 2, the cancel culture thing that's so prevalent right now. Number 3, censorship, which, it's almost mind-boggling that the left will be promoting censorship, and now the right is a victim of censorship.
Well,
Number 4, election fraud, right? I mean, most people on the right feel like there was some form of election fraud that occurred, and the left just wants to turn a blind eye on. And the 5th one I'm going to add for you, Pendo, that you just brought up a very good point, defunding police. How do you have a civilization out of that? That's where our frustration is coming from. Where is the left's frustration come from? What are they so frustrated with the right about? Can anyone articulate that?
Yeah, we stand in the way of them dictating how everybody should live. They don't like that.
I'm talking about the average Biden voter. They think
Yeah, that's pretty much.
they
These
want
people-
power, is what you're saying?
These are this. No. These are idiots that don't understand the planet that they're on. So they vote for things that they think will, bring them happiness or whatever. And if you're standing in the way, then that's violence to them. They've been taught this. These are just we've trained 20% of the population to be retarded, and that's what we have.
Just 20%? I think it's more than that.
Yeah, but no, you got about 30% that vote Democrat. I'd say about 10% of them do know what they're doing, and they control the other 20. Tell you the truth, they're like their trainers, and so we get these, seals. These people are like lemmings. It doesn't matter if it's Democrat, they're going for it. Period. I mean,
They're just
Trump
going to
could
fall over the cliff right over
Trump
each
could
other.
come out and say, "I've got a cure for AIDS," and they'd want to kill him for it. Somehow, it's evil.
Richard, why is the left frustrated with the right?
I think that they're going to hold that the right is predominantly concerned. Now, I'm not saying this is all true. Obviously, this is my hunch, and it all depends on who you're talking to, right? I mean, just like on the conservative side, there are conservative Republicans about social issues. There are conservative Republicans about monetary issues, about foreign policy issues, but they're going to generally say the Republicans are overly focused on wealth and accumulation of wealth at the expense of treating people well. They're going to say that the pursuit of military investment is disproportionate to what should be instead the investment in human causes. They're going to say that that the government should never get involved in telling you how to live unless, and this is the part that gets me, unless we're talking about killing babies and we're talking about other things, but so that that's one of those issues you pick and choose when it's good for you to argue. But they're predominantly on the side also of civil rights, and which is confusing to me because Republicans were the civil rights leaders by and large, whereas Southern Democrats were the ones opposed to it back in the 60s and 70s.
Oh no, it's still like that, Richard. They don't. No, it is
right. So, but anyway, so they're gonna say that that from that standpoint, they're gonna say we look out for the little people, and there are more little people, and when little people get the same number of votes as the big people, that makes sense. Like it's a strategy on the part of the deep state to divide and then cater, basically, like when Biden wanted to forgive student loans. He doesn't care about student loans, but he needed the voters. So he knew it would get overturned anyway, which it did. So he throws it out there just to score points with people. And now the debate all of a sudden is, should the Supreme Court, which is so, right-wing conservative now all of a sudden, like no one had a problem when it was left-wing liberal, but now that it's right-wing conservative, all of a sudden should be overturned. But anyway, there's just hypocrisy all the way around. But that answers your question, at least in terms of why.
I think you're right. I think they view Republicans as greedy. That's
but at least they're greedy with their own money.
Exactly.
Those people are greedy with other people.
Todd,
And Republicans give a lot more to charity than liberals do.
Yes, they do.
That's proven.
Oh, but hey, let me just say this. You got to remember, Richard, you're right. It used to be that the Republicans were about civil rights. The thing is, they still are, because we're the ones that are trying to stop the censorship. We're the ones trying to preserve the rights that are in the Constitution. They're the one. I mean, I never thought I'd see the day that Neil Young would cause for censorship on somebody like Joe Rogan because he disagrees with him. I never thought
did he do that? Did Neil Young do that?
Yeah, remember he pulled his stuff off of Spotify as a protest unless they got rid of Joe Rogan.
Someone should sit him down and say, "Listen, old man." Just kidding.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like you're always on the side of wrong.
Todd, what do you think collectively Biden voters want, and what big change do they want to see made?
They would tell you global warming because it's easy, but that's my answer is they don't know. They've been taught to know what they don't want, which is to fight and complain. So that's their whole angle against the right. I think, to just go back a touch and to still answer the question though about what like Richard's point about what's the one big gripe they have against the right. I think the issue is even just as simple as this. It's empowerment versus power. Inherently, a competition-based marketplace is about empowerment, about letting measurements and things be the meritocracy of success. It doesn't mean that oppresses. It means you also get kicked around in that type of environment, but you learn and get better. And that is about empowerment, which is the ultimate freedom. And people in power, kind of like what also Richard said earlier about throughout history, there's people seeking empowerment, and those in power are scared of empowerment. But those that are under the wing actually think it's empowerment. But it's not. It's yielding power to those that keep you down into a certain level of predictability that they think is safe to them. We've talked about that before, about their basic safety. That's what they think they want. But the reality is, I think most of them, it hits at their core. In their mind, they have lost in the game of competition. Whether it was on the playground in second grade or when they were teased here. Look at all the people that you see on TV griping and stuff. Do they look like the high school quarterback? They have lost in the game of competition. So they think they want this world, but what they don't realize in their gripe is they're yielding it to a power play that's actually never going to increase the standard of anything, but it's just not going to make them feel bad because they lost in the game of competition.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more losers than winners, right? And like being quarterback of football.
Even people that are, this is the part, even people that are successful, every one of them will tell you they've lost more than they've won.
But they keep on going.
Exactly.
Yeah, but Todd,
the story that you never hear.
Todd, are you trying to tell me that you expect people to get off the couch? I mean, come on. They got YouTubing to do, man.
Well, I'll tell you what, a child born today is going to see so many advantages. I mean, just look at the technology. I mean, just look at just the thing that we're on right now, the computer and doing a video conferencing. I mean, by the time they're 50 years old, okay, here's another broader question. It's a little off topic, but here's a broader question. I'd be curious has everything that's been invented already been invented? In other words, is there any other new innovation out there that could happen in the next 50 years that, say, is as revolutionary as electricity, the
Yes.
automobile, jet aircraft?
Yes. Yeah.
What like what? What could-
Anti-gravity technology.
anti-gravity technology?
Dude, that take us to the stars.
Zero fusion.
Yep.
Free energy.
Wow. Now, is that good or could that end up being bad?
No, that'd be great. If they had limitless energy for free, yeah, that'd be freaking awesome.
Yeah, if cold fusion became a thing and they can pull it off, then that's a game changer for a lot of
But
reasons.
also anti-gravity would give you the vehicle that you could use. You'd still have to make a warp engine and all that, but you'd be halfway there if you could master gravity.
Does that just mean you can travel faster? What does that
Well,
mean?
it means you could invent anything and it could fly around with no. You could have a skateboard that could fly you all over the universe or all over the planet to a certain height. Anyway, it'd be anti-gravity. It would never crash.
Is
It'd
that
be
really
like Doc's car, and it'd be like Doc's car in Back to the Future.
Have you guys seen the Bob? Is it Bob Les? The one that was on Rogan. He talked about the Area 51. And
Bob
that was,
Lazar.
yeah, Bob
That's
Lazar.
what he's working on.
That's what they said that has been. And here's the thing, just to blow your mind, Tim, that no one thinks about. And they found this, and he found this, and he was studying that. And it basically, think about when you put a bowling ball in a bed and you push one part of the bed, the bowling ball fills the space. That's kind of like negative gravity. It moves to. That's what they claim these ships have seen, where they're able to stop. But here's the thing that blows you away. They claim they found most of them in an archaeological dig. So here's the part that we may be seeing technology that is as simple as like water on another planet. He goes, these things could have been in the ground for 1 million years. Everyone always thinks of the future, but the point is we don't even. And you got to watch it. I'm getting this off the rails a little bit.
What's it called?
Watch the Rogan podcast of Bob Lazar.
Yeah,
Bob
Bob Lazar.
And it's impossible to discredit him. And
You can't discredit him.
So
Did you hear about the? Hey, Todd, did you hear about the what is it? The component they discovered?
yeah, the extra element.
The element.
Yeah.
Element 14. He talked about it back in the 90s. Chemists were saying, "Oh, that's bullcrap. There's no such thing." In the early 2000s, the Russians did it. He said it 15 years before it ever existed.
Element 14. And what's element 14?
It's an element that never existed before, but it does now.
Like a chemistry on the
On the chart, yeah.
So it's like the point being, it's like the hubris of us thinks there's got to be something like a newer, smarter mind, a newer thing. And his point is, this might be a really common element, like on another planet, that is so basic to them, like, that they're like, what are you talking about? You just put
Like
these,
water is here.
exactly, or something like that, where you put these two things together, and that type of dynamic with the exploration. So I guess I'm a dreamer in that regard. I don't know is the short answer, but I do think there are things that are out there that can, because we can't wrap our mind. We're thinking in the terms of this linear growth to things that we do now.
We should do a special show on the paranormal.
These
UFO.
Don't
Oh,
we
the
have,
paranormal.
don't we have water in our air?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called humidity.
Okay, well, doesn't that kind of kill the ending of Signs?
Oh,
They shouldn't even have been able to land. That's like us landing on an acid planet where the atmosphere is made up of acid.
I like Signs. You got to suspend disbelief a little bit.
It
And,
was a great movie.
yeah,
but
It's
kills
just
the
called,
ending.
the movie's just called Signs.
it's
You
an M.
never
Night
saw
Shyamalan movie.
Signs?
It had Mel Gibson in it.
It was awesome.
Had
Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix in it. Yeah, great movie.
Interesting. Okay, so now it's time for our final thoughts and predictions.
Oh,
Bendo-
I've
I'm
got,
sorry,
I've got
Richard.
one topic I was going to just bring up.
Yes, certainly.
Vacation time for presidents. We've talked a lot about Joe
Oh,
Biden,
yes.
the stress he's under. He's had to
Poor
ruin the
baby.
economy. He's had to ruin Afghanistan. He's had to do all these, cut all these deals with the
Destroy the
Chinese,
border.
Iranians. So hard work, Joe. We get it. But if I ask the three of you to rank presidents, let's start with George W. Bush, Biden, Trump, and then Obama, Trump, and Biden. We'll stack rank those in terms of who's done the most vacation out of those.
Biden the most, Obama the second most, George Bush, and then Trump.
No, it all depends on what you call a vacation, but this is time away from the White House spent at other places. It actually goes Biden, then Trump, then George W. Bush, and then Obama. Obama spent, I was kind of surprised at this, and this is coming off of Breitbart, so this isn't like a liberal news source. Barack Obama had 38 days of his presidency during the 4 years at either a property in Hawaii or Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah, but if you remember, and Richard, I know you remember this, there's on Insanity Island on this channel. If you go look at the cartoons, you'll see a cartoon that Doug and I did about how much Obama was going on vacation.
He golfed a lot. I know he did
Well,
that.
what happened was he was catching a lot of flack from it early, and then he quit doing it. And
So nonetheless, 38
fun,
days
though.
for Obama, 100 days for Bush, including when he would go down to his ranch, right? 132 days for Trump when he would go to Mar-a-Lago or to Bedminster in New Jersey for the summer.
Is that Camp David?
No, that was like a Trump location he went to.
Oh, okay.
Biden, conversely, has at this point spent over 40%, which is so far, just in the first 2 years, 353 days on vacation.
That's unreal.
Almost it's 39.2%. So let's just call it 40%, 39%, whatever.
But
Yeah,
when Trump was going to his own properties, he was still working.
Yeah, but guys,
I'm not
look,
disputing that. I'm just
this
saying.
this is a completely different scenario. Biden is never actually the president.
Right. I mean,
So,
Biden's asleep when he's
Yeah,
at the White House,
so-
right? So
I mean, it doesn't bother me. It's like,
I'm talking about a workaholic that needs, this is busting it, for the other 60%. We're talking about he's mailing it in when he's at the White
Yeah.
House for that 60%.
but he has to have a card to tell him to stand up and shake somebody's hand.
Right,
He's
right.
not the president.
So the point
Somebody
is,
else is the president.
as absent as Biden is already when he's in DC, it's like when he was campaigning, he was down in his basement the whole time during the guy is not physically capable of keeping up. He's just
And yet he wants to run again in 2024. Why? What Richard, what is his motivation
At this
to
point,
run?
it's ego.
What do you think his motivation is to run?
title, power, money for his family, and you get 40% of your time off on vacations. I mean,
Well, there you go.
I would,
And one more. He needs to stay in
Okay.
power. He needs to stay in power as long as he can to make sure if he needs to pardon anybody in his family, he can do it.
So I'm thinking.
there was an article this week on Drudge Report that said, when's the right time for Biden to drop out of the race? Now, Drudge Report these days is not a conservative site,
No, it's not.
but the fact that was even out there, I've been telling you guys ever since I've been on this podcast that it's just a matter of time. He's going to pardon the family and he's going to get out of Dodge, and you're going to have either Newsom or Michelle Obama step in,
Oh,
I don't think
man.
Michelle will do it because
or Hillary.
I don't think Michelle
Oh,
wants to actually work.
All those names you just
I don't
mentioned
think she'll
just
do
made me nauseous.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. Final thoughts and predictions. Pendo, we'll start with you.
I think Indiana Jones is going to go down as the biggest loss in history, in the history of cinema, until the Marvels come out, and then that'll be the new biggest loss. See, the thing is, Disney keeps spending more than $300 million on each of these movies. That means you got to make about 800 to 900 back, because it's not just production. You have production, and then you have advertising. Then you got to give half your money to the theaters. So by the time you get done, that's like close to $1 billion. And if you're only bringing in about 3 or 4, that's a crap load of money that you're losing on each one all the time. And that's all they've got coming for the next year is more losses. It's awesome. I love to see it.
Wow.
I'm enjoying it.
Okay. Todd, what about you?
The cocaine story will get blown by the wind and be just disappear.
And just go away.
It's like if real cocaine was blown by the wind and
Till
disappeared.
the next time he does it.
Like when Woody Allen sneezed in that big
This
pile of cocaine.
this one came to me on this podcast, and you're going to hate me, but the Democrats are going to win again. But we're going to go backwards to go
The
forward.
Democrats will win the White House.
You're right. It's going to be a different figurehead that runs in the good news, why we go backwards to go forwards. They're going to realize that it is systemic to the party, not just Biden. The country's going to realize the party is so wayward, it doesn't matter who's in power. The same shenanigans are going to exist, and people are going to finally be fed up, and then we're going to win for good. And actually, I don't even say we. Things are going to change for the good, and we're going to get our country back. But I think we have to go backwards so that middle or anyone that can be swayed realizes this is not just a Biden issue. It is a systemic party waywardness. And that's my prediction. And it's going to be
Backwards or go forward. Okay. Appreciate that. Richard?
On the sports side, the Atlanta Braves, who are finishing up first half of the season as not just the best baseball team, but by far the best baseball team, will continue to dominate. But I expect that they're going to make a big trade for a starting pitcher or a really, really good closer. So that's my prediction.
And you think they'll make it to the World Series?
I mean, baseball, anything can happen, but I'd like to think so. I mean, they're the best team right now.
Yeah, they're playing great baseball.
They're probably in the next 3 months. There probably will be one more Georgia player that gets a speeding ticket, and the Atlanta Journal-Constitution will then devote an entire, month-long study on Georgia driving problems with our football team.
Big story happened from the AJC, and we've been getting some big linemen, some big giant linemen up front. And
That's how you win.
That's how you win. So my prediction is going to be to dovetail on Todd's thing. I think the whole going backwards and go forward thing, I think that could happen sooner rather than later. I think we could see a real slip in the economy towards the fourth quarter this year, going into next year. I think that's going to actually help the Republicans. And I see the Republican taking the White House, the Senate, and retain the House in the majority. Republicans have a complete majority in the election in 24. That's my prediction. Okay, this concludes another exciting episode of the cocaine segment of Insanity.
Hey, Hunter, we appreciate you stopping by there, buddy.
I got to get back to partying with them.
Go. I hear he knows a lot of strippers. Hope you have a good time.
Later, guys.
Work.
Later. Till next time.